A big X factor for the Mavericks this season is how well Dereck Lively can play. Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. Jeffrey Cooperstein here with you guys. Hope everyone is enjoying their Tuesday so far. And I really do believe that as the Mavericks go, Dereck Lively will go and vice versa. If Lively can play in a lot of games and up his production from the first 2 years of his career, I think the Mavericks are in for a pretty good season. If he's dealing with injuries once again and is limited in his ability, I think the Mavs could be in trouble. Start us off here on today's show before we dive deep into Dereck Lively. How important do you guys think he is this year? Scale it for me 1 to 10 down there in the comment section. 10 if you think he is like the most important thing ever. 1 if you think Dereck Lively is completely irrelevant to the Mavericks' successes this season. Lively in his first 2 years with the Mavericks after being drafted 12th overall, obviously a draft day trade where the Mavericks sent Case and Wallace. The Mavs got Dereck Lively and an additional first round pick. And it's worked out, I would say, pretty well for both sides. Case and Wallace obviously played a key role for the Oklahoma City Thunder in winning an NBA title this year, and Dereck Lively played a key role for the Mavericks in getting to the NBA Finals in year one. In his rookie season, just being 19 years old, dealing with a lot of personal stuff, Lively averaged almost 9 points and 7 rebounds, a block and a half a night in 55 games. This year, Lively struggled a little bit. Now, the numbers were pretty much the same scoring-wise, and he actually upped his rebounding total from 6.9 to 7.5. Blocks were around the same as well, but he was limited to just 36 games, and he dealt with a bunch of injuries, as he has basically throughout his career, and dating to his time back at Duke, where he missed the beginning of the season with the little injury. Now, he did end up playing 34 games in his year at Duke, so he played most of the games he was available for, but just 55 games in his rookie year, which is 27 games missed, and then he missed 46 games last year as a member of the Mavericks with various injuries. And look, the injury history really isn't great. He had a broken nose in 2024 when he had to end up wearing a mask for a few games. In the Western Conference Finals in 2024, he had a neck sprain that made him miss the game. Last year, he had a shoulder sprain as well, where he missed a few games. And then in 2025, they really couldn't diagnose what exactly was wrong with him. At first, he was diagnosed with an ankle sprain, which turned into a foot fracture, which kept him out for a long period of time. And it kind of sparked the whole conversation surrounding the Mavericks medical staff because there was a disagreement on what Lively's treatment actually was. And the whole Nico Harrison thing, where he said it was a great catch by the medical team to, when the Mavericks were ready to ramp Lively up, they caught this fracture and they kept him out even longer. The majority of the public will disagree and tell you that they just misdiagnosed it in the first place. But nevertheless, Lively has had problems with injuries, and I really hope that he can kind of just put all that to bed and come out with a fully healthy season this year. Look, if you're a 7'1" big man in the NBA, chances are you're just going to miss a couple of games, given the body composition, just given the wear and tear that an NBA season will just take a toll on you. Look, if he ended up playing in 70 games, I think that would be a great feat for the Dallas Mavericks. And when it comes to injuries, the big man group is pretty damn concerning, I would say. Look, the Mavs have Anthony Davis, you have Dereck Lively, you have Daniel Gafford, and those guys have missed a ton of games. And just as a whole, this team missed a ton of man games last year, 444 to be exact, which I believe was second or third in the NBA. And not only the big man, you also had the likes of Kyrie, you had PJ Washington, you had D'Angelo Russell, you had Dante Exum, who all missed a significant amount of time. And Anthony Davis, Dereck Lively, and Gafford in particular, those are guys who have dealt with injuries throughout their careers. The Anthony Davis injury history is long documented. We know that guy is injury prone. We know that he is someone who you have to count on missing at least 20 games. And you know that you're going to have to rely on the likes of Lively and Gafford and Washington, who, by the way, the Mavericks are probably going to extend here on Friday to keep him on the roster. You're going to have to rely on those guys because you know AD is not going to be available for all of these games. And when the Mavericks are, trotting out a lineup in the middle of January, chances are you have these three guys right here. It's more than likely that one of them will not be available for you on any given night, which is why the depth at this position is so important. And yes, you're wondering, Coop, why did the Mavs keep Dwight Powell this season? He's washed and cooked and whatever. Dwight Powell's going to have to play some for this Mavericks team. He's in the final year of his contract as well. And on any given night, like I said, in the middle of January, when the games you're in the dog days of the NBA, you're going to have to play Dwight Powell 10 to 15 minutes because chances are one of those guys will not be available for you. But going back to Dereck Lively and bringing the conversation back, this needs to be his best year of his career, in my opinion. The first year was fantastic. He was a great partner with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving in the pick and roll. Last year, I would say was not disappointing, but I wouldn't call it a fantastic year for Dereck Lively. I want this year to be by far the best year of his career, and I know he's only 21 years old, so it's all relative, but I really want him to take off this year, grab that starting spot in the lineup because there is kind of a battle between him and Daniel Gafford as far as who starts on any given night. And it could depend on matchup as well. That's up to Jason Kidd. But I really want to see Lively take a grasp on that center spot. I want to see him improve defensively, and I want to see him really just be that key cog for the Mavericks in the middle. We're going to talk about another thing that Lively could improve on here and really just unlock this Mavericks offense in just a few moments. But before we do that, please hit that subscribe button. Non-stop coverage of the Dallas Mavericks all throughout the offseason, during the season as well. We'll have you covered better than anyone else on YouTube at youtube.com/MavsTV. Help us get to 32,600 subscribers as soon as humanly possible. All right, so coming up, we're going to talk about Dereck Lively's next step. And this is something that's been talked about surrounding the Mavericks and surrounding Lively for, it seems like, almost a couple of years now. But it hasn't happened yet. Let's see if it happens next season. Before we get into that, do need to shout out our sponsor of today's show, which is, of course, PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, which I play every single day. This episode of Mavericks Today is brought to you by PrizePicks, and preseason football is over. The regular season almost here. College football is here this weekend. Who can believe it? Look, PrizePicks is super simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 40 states, including California, Georgia, Florida, and, of course, Texas. They put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football and basketball season. I do have a projection for Texas versus Ohio State, the big one at the Horseshoe on Saturday. Give me the more on Arch Manning, 1.5 passing touchdowns. I'm also going to take the less on Jeremiah Smith receiving yards. Texas held Jeremiah Smith to just 1 catch in the CFP semifinal last season. And then give me the more on Trey Wisner rush and receiving touchdowns at 0.5. You can copy my picks or you can make picks of your own. Just please make sure you do it with our friends over at PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is in the comments and description of today's show. Shout out to PrizePicks. Run your game. All right, Dereck Lively's next step. We saw it in Game 4 of the 2024 NBA Finals, where Lively took a corner three and made a corner three. And it looked fantastic, to be honest with you. He had a good shooting form. He took it in stride, and he knocked it down. And I want to see if the Mavericks can incorporate that into their offense this season. He's been working on this shot basically since the end of his rookie season with the Mavs developmental coaches and whatnot, and they really haven't been, I would say, too keen to release it in actual game motion where they're doing it a lot in practice. They really don't want to pull it out in a game quite yet. Now, they did in Game 4 against the Celtics because the series was basically over and the Mavs had nothing to lose. Can the Mavs incorporate that into their offense this year and make them a better squad? That's what I'm looking at if Lively really can take the next step in his development. 1 for 3 on career three-point attempts, including the one in against Boston. So 0 for 2 in the regular season and 1 for 1 in the postseason. I would like to see him shoot a couple of more threes, just given how this Mavericks roster is constructed right now. This is what I have as projected the starting 5, and we also know that Mark Stein said PJ Washington not a locked-in starter anymore. You could throw Klay Thompson in there as well, which would certainly help the floor spacing, but I really do think that if Dereck Lively is able to knock down threes with any sort of consistency, let's call it 32%, which is somewhat below league average. If he could do that, I think the Mavericks would be helped significantly in the offensive department. That's really where I worry about the Mavs this season is their inability to be able to score the ball at a consistent level because I don't know if they have enough shot creators. But if they can find people who can knock down the three-point shot, that would certainly help things and help open up the game for the rest of everybody else. And what the Mavericks, look, they don't have bad three-point shooters by any means. but I wouldn't call anybody a three-point sniper. Like, you obviously have Klay Thompson, who either coming off the bench or starting is great, but Anthony Davis, career three-point percentage below 30. PJ Washington, pretty average at 35, 36%, although he has shot it better with the Mavericks than he did with the Charlotte Hornets, so that's something to be seen. Cooper Flagg did shoot 38.5% at Duke last season, but people still have concern about him knocking down outside shots with consistency. And yes, the three-point line is, a little deeper in the NBA than it is in college, so that could play a factor as well. Hopefully, Flagg can shoot it well from three, and this concern is really alleviated by that. And D'Angelo Russell is a very inconsistent three-point shooter. Over the course of his career, he's been as high as 40. He's been as low as 30. So put it right in the middle at 36.5. I just really hope this team can find an extra gear on offense, and I do think it would come in the form of three-point shooting from Dereck Lively. It would add another element to this offense that we really haven't seen in the last couple of years. And the Mavs have been a great pick-and-roll team with their centers not being able to space the floor at all. But if you add that, you could have Lively rolling. You could also have him popping off a screen as well, and it could open up that much more for Jason Kidd on offense. Play Prize Picks with me down there in the comment section. 1.5 three-pointers attempted per game this season for Dereck Lively. If you think it's going to be more, type M. If you think it's going to be L, type less. And that will do it for today's show, guys. I appreciate you all for tuning into the show. As always, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys soon here on the channel.